Welcome to the Inbound Logistics video podcast series presented by Inbound Logistics Magazine. Today, we're looking at ways to increase transportation and logistics visibility using automation. Joining us is Andre Luecht, Global Strategy Lead, Transport, Logistics, and Warehouse for Zebra. Here is our host, Amy Roach.
Thanks, Jeff. And Andre, hi, welcome. It's great to have you here today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to getting into the meaty topic here and hearing all about your insights on automation. But just start off, if you will, give us a brief overview of Zebra and your role there at the company.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. So Zebra is a technology company, technology provider. In this particular context, focusing on intelligent automation, asset and inventory visibility, and the connected frontline worker. Our reach spans from hospitality, retail, utilities, transport logistics, warehouse, manufacturing, and pretty much any vertical that has a task to capture data, analyze data, and come back with decision support. So a wide spectrum of use cases. I am personally responsible for the warehouse and the transport and logistics aspect of our strategy development.
Okay, great. Fantastic. So let's start the discussion with drivers. Tell me, what are you seeing? What is driving the increased adoption of automation and mobile technology in warehouses, and then across, the supply chain in transportation and logistics? What's behind the crucial need for automation right now?
Well, first and foremost is the access to affordable labor. There are very, very few people available to do what used to be a manual task in a warehouse, transport, and logistics environment. So that's one, access to affordable labor. The second one is your fault and mine and everyone else's fault, in that we expect our items to be delivered to our doorstep ever faster and more efficiently without wanting to pay a premium for faster delivery. And that then in turn translates to having to come back with intelligent solutions for picking, packing, shipping, routing, and sourcing, whatever have you in the supply chain. And that's something that is not going to go away. Our customer expectations, or our expectations as customers, are not going to reduce going forward. Quite the contrary. We want same-day delivery. We want no mistakes. And we want it ideally for free. So those are some of the drivers. Compare that, as I said earlier, with the lack of available resources. The only way to solve that conundrum is by employing automation. And that is what we're seeing in the market.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. And then when we're talking about automation specifically in this context, what are some of the key tools for mobile technology and for automation that companies are using in warehousing and then also in their transportation and logistics operation?
If you look into inventory and asset visibility as one of the key strategic pillars, you see a proliferation of a lot of technologies, whether it is RFID, smarter handheld devices, fixed industrial scanning, a lot of vision and camera-based data capturing technologies finding their way into warehouses and outside of warehouses. So anything that used to primarily be done by a warehouse worker holding a handheld device, going forward might be done by something that is a fixed installation or ambient data capturing, for lack of a better term. So that's one, the data capturing being made more efficient. The other one is the automation part. We'll see a lot more, or actually are seeing a lot more penetration with autonomous mobile robots in environments where that used or previously involved a lot of walking, picking environments, for instance, or when it comes to moving materials. in those use cases, you might find a lot more physical automation. Mm-hmm. And then there's the part that deals with decision automation, as in what should I be doing next? I'm finding certain environment. Let's say you discover there's an inventory discrepancy. What do I do next? Do I update the master data in my warehouse management system, whatever it may be, right? So there are some use cases that immediately become available if you increase your degree of automation.
Right. Makes sense. Okay. Yeah. And a lot of different use cases. And like you said, a lot of different drivers. Let's talk a little bit about the benefits. I think some of them are obvious. We talked about speed and labor challenges, but break it down for us a little bit. What are the real benefits that companies are seeing as a result of deploying these different automation tools?
Yeah, that's actually a very good question. It ranges from things as simple as there's a robot that moves the pallet. I don't have to do this. So there are no repetitive strain injuries, or it takes away some of the empty miles that I'm walking around in my warehouse every day. But it could be more sophisticated in that capturing data while you're actually carrying something. You present let's say a parcel or an item to a fixed scanner, and the scanner then, without you doing anything, just both hands free or carrying something, the scanner will do its job and capture the data. There are opportunities to capture data through tunnels on conveyors. So the benefit is helping the warehouse worker performing the task faster, more efficiently, and removing some of the non-value adding tasks, if you like, the kind of stuff that no one really likes to do, and thereby also contributing to making a warehouse shop floor associate work a little bit more attractive.
Right, which is huge. Obviously, again, with the labor issues, making warehouse work, that much more enjoyable or efficient and effective is obviously always going to be a win.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
There are a couple of prerequisites, though. I mean, it's not done by buying a smart robot or installing a couple of scanners or readers or cameras over your conveyors. You still need to do your homework. So if you have an efficient process and you try to automate that efficient process, you're going to reap the benefits. If your process isn't efficient, it is just going to magnify your inefficiency by so much more, because you try to automate something that shouldn't be automated in the first place.
Right. Okay. That's actually a really good point. So automation just for automation's sake isn't really the goal here.
We might have seen a lot of that 18 months ago, 24 months ago. But nowadays, that all the second wave of automation, all the initial considerations for automation, people have tried, people have played around with it, and now we're getting into the serious phase when it transitions from an innovation department to an operations department. That's when you know that, okay, now it's got to work, and it's got to work 24/7. You sold it to me on the fact that the total cost of ownership is smaller, but now the automation really needs to work, and it cannot fail.
Yeah, I like that, from innovation to operation. That makes sense. So what about for companies that are interested in adding these automation and mobile tech tools to their operations? What are their roadblocks? What are some of the challenges?
It is. I don't want to call it roadblocks, but there are a couple of preconditions, if you like. In that your warehouse management system, your transport management systems need to be able to ingest the data, which might be able to hit the systems a lot faster, with a lot better latency than in the past. And you need to be able to make sense of the data that you that you're receiving. Imagine you getting an almost constant stream of scans and data that is being captured, and your warehouse management system is 15 years old. You might need some additional help in making a sense of what is being read and what does it mean. So there's some additional requirements, and a lot of our partners, Zebra is a very partner-centric company. A lot of our partners enable that kind of glue or provide that glue in the middle, if you like, to turn the new capabilities into something that your systems of record and reality can digest. So there's a lot of homework and kind of holistic thinking that is required. We see, especially if you are trying to deploy something in a brownfield environment, basically an existing warehouse, that there are certain processes that you try to automate or try to improve on. That requires almost more planning and more design than a greenfield deployment, where you can start from scratch and look at everything that is available to you, and everything has the same starting point. Whereas if you look into a warehouse that has been in existence for 25 years, and now you try to automate or improve the inbound process or the inventory visibility, those are some of the challenges where you need a full understanding as to how the flow works. Otherwise, you're just creating bottlenecks in front of the process that hasn't been automated or optimized. So there's usually brownfield exercises take a bit more holistic thinking than greenfield, where in essence you could just start from scratch and new.
Right. Okay, great. Makes sense. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk specifically about Zebra. And I think our audience is, pretty familiar with Zebra as a provider for solutions inside the four walls. But I know you're working outside the warehouse as well. Can you talk a little bit about what Zebra's doing on the automation side and with mobile devices to help outside the four walls?
That's a very good question. If you follow some of the literature, the last mile, for instance, in a supply chain environment is the most expensive leg of your supply chain, because there's so fewer items that are being moved per vehicle or per movement. So those are some of the areas that are, I don't want to say overlooked for automation, but are usually it is a lot easier to nicely ring fence the area that you want to deploy your technology into, as in a warehouse. Now, if you look into the last mile delivery part, there's a lot of activity and a lot of opportunity for someone like Zebra, because we provide data in real time. And we provide data on an item level if needed. So basically, if you have put a label on a parcel that needs to be delivered, we can capture that data right at the point of delivery. We can take a picture. Proof of delivery is something that a lot of our customers are asking for, or their customers are asking for. Then there are parts of the supply chain that are adjacent to, let's say, a warehouse environment in a yard, for instance. If you look at a cross-dock with 1,000 tractor trailers waiting, or swap bodies waiting somewhere, there's some opportunity to capture data with rugged tablets, something that we have in our portfolio as well. If you look into the physical movement of goods, the actual physical transportation, there's, as we all know, there's an electronic logging device requirement for over-the-road transportation. And in a lot of cases, the common carrier or operators are looking for devices that can not only provide the ELD function, but more, and come in a rugged form factor. And those are some of the environments where Zebra's portfolio comes to play. One additional aspect, it may be inside, but not necessarily a warehouse. We see a lot of interest in distribution environments where it is important that the right wire cage pallet gaylord finds its way onto the right truck, because a misload would cause either problems downstream or get customers really upset. You've probably heard of on time in full kind of requirements to even penalties if you don't do it. So in a lot of environments where we see the distribution, making sure you find the right item on the right truck at the right time, and you capture that data in real time. Those are some of the use cases. There's a really interesting use cases, because we have the capability. We developed a solution to measure your tire depth, the thread depth. So that's something that falls out of some of our technical capabilities. And in the last mile delivery, we have developed the capability to dimension a parcel. So basically, X, Y, and Z, you get the 3 dimensions of or the size of a parcel, for instance. So there are a couple of capabilities that come from our ability to solve the problems with a really wide portfolio.
Yeah, really broad use. And I wanted to ask you also about field service operations, because I understand that Zebra does has a lot of capabilities, and there are other use cases in that area as well. Can you touch on that side of things?
Sure. So outside of the last mile delivery use case, which in the widest sense could be considered a field service, but if you look into, for instance, direct store delivery, where you need to provide, I guess the use case is kind of it's the straight delivery to the retailer by the brand owner. Where there might be route accounting, where there might be people, where people might need to print a receipt, where you need a camera to check the assortment and positioning of the merchandise on the shelf at a retailer. We see a lot of those use cases, and then there are use cases that are field service in a more narrow sense. If you have routing, for instance, that is required, or improving the sequence in which you have to do the various tasks or perform the tasks, HVAC, repair, utilities, whatever have you, those kind of use cases do benefit from having a devices and technology in the hand of a service technician that can, if necessary, provide some insight into, or get some insight from the head office to follow up on. Let's say there's a certain electrical panel that I don't know, I've never seen, what do I do next? And do all of that in real time, do all of that potentially with video, depending on the technology you choose. So there's a lot of opportunity to help field service technicians and employees making the right decisions on the spot, basically as an extension of the office, if you like.
Right. Okay. So again, it's basically comes down to having that real-time data to kind of close the gap between what's happening in real time and what's sort of happening in the back, in the front office rather.
And having the right form factor. So we're kind of known to have a relatively large portfolio of form factor, from a handheld to a wearable, tablets, cameras. So those are some of the RFID readers. Those are some of the important considerations if you have an environment where a buyer is kind of risk averse, doesn't necessarily know where the technology journey is going. It is kind of helpful to have everything in your catalog to be able to offer a broad range of technology solutions.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, I wanted to go back to the beginning when you said obviously that automation is and all of the demands for automation are not going anywhere. If anything, they're going to increase. So if you have kind of a crystal ball, I guess, what do you see coming up in this realm for automation and for mobile technology across the warehouse, transportation, and supply chain? What are you expecting to see?
I guess to no one's surprise, no conversation in 2024 is complete without mentioning the word AI.
Yeah.
So I'll do the same thing. And when we talk about automation, one thing we haven't really, or I haven't really touched on is decision automation. That's an area that we will see a lot more of going forward. AI is not new. We've seen early use cases maybe 20 years ago already. But what is new is AI or artificial intelligence, and I'm not talking about generative AI just yet, being made available individually to a frontline worker. That is something to improve the decision making. That is something that we'll see a lot more of. What is my next best move? What should I do? Or I've never seen this before. Can someone help me understand this? Let's say you see an oil spill in your warehouse and you don't really know what to do. That is something where having, for instance, standard operating procedures in your handheld device could seriously help you. And that's the generative part. If there's an opportunity to learn and turn this into something net new, even more power to you. But I think we will see a lot more of the traditional artificial intelligence use cases being finding a much broader audience going forward, moving from descriptive analytics and the view in the rear view mirror to prescriptive. We've seen a lot of use cases with predictive analytics as well as to like a crystal ball, like you mentioned, but a crystal ball based on historic data and maybe even external data. If it's raining and there was a late game on Sunday night and traffic doesn't look good, what's the chances of all 5 of my forklift drivers arriving on time? Right, so those kind of use cases we'll see a lot more of going forward, and I think that is a part of the automation that isn't necessarily a physical one. The form factor might be an interesting one because our chipsets or the architecture allows you now to have these kind of capabilities at your fingertips physically in your hands, but the cost for it or the cost of making this technology available to a shop floor warehouse associate, that is something that we'll see driving the penetration going forward in the warehouse and outside.
Right. Great. So fascinating. Really exciting stuff. So thank you again, Andre, for coming on. I think our audience got a lot of good, useful information. Anything else you want to touch on before we wrap up?
No, I think I covered everything. Scale your expectations when it comes to generative AI, but there is a lot of opportunity to further optimize throughput, further optimize cost, and improve customer satisfaction by looking into what can be automated in the supply chain.
Fantastic. Great. Thanks again. It was great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for watching this Inbound Logistics video podcast. For more episodes, go to www.inboundlogistics.com.